Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
Love is blind.
Hey, y'all, hey.
Hello.
Welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything. TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even dating shows where people get engaged without seeing each other. We love to watch, and we love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
Love is Blind. Season 6, episodes 10 through 13. The final episodes, finale, and reunion.
That's it. Okay, and before we get into the episode, first make sure that you're following Sisters Who Watch on all social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're there, so go support us, and make sure you give us 5 stars on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and wherever you stream your podcast, and follow us on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much. Okay, Shelby.
Very exciting.
We have a special guest today.
Ashley Menzies Babatunde from the No Straight Path podcast is here.
Welcome.
Thank you both so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, thank you for coming. So exciting to have a fellow podcaster here. Let the people know, the audience, more about you, more about your podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to say that I'm a multi-hyphenate. I am a storyteller, a lawyer, DEI strategist, human-centered leader, and one, I guess, name that I'll add now that we're chatting is I think I'm a reality TV enthusiast. Specifically, I just love, and I love reality TV shows. And on my podcast, I love storytelling. And so for the No Straight Path podcast, which is part of the HubSpot podcast network, we look at the human stories behind success. So when you look on LinkedIn and you look on Instagram, you see all of the highlights and the accolades, but you rarely see the story behind it. And so on my podcast, we delve into the story behind the accolades from the millennial perspective, but we are open to Gen Z as well. We love you. And to other generations, we are inclusive. But that's the work that I do. It's my passion. And it's really just brought me so much joy and brought me opportunities to speak with people like you. And so I'm so happy that I met you, Shelby. I believe a year ago now at Podcast Movement, or no, at the Gathering Spot. And now we're here today with Laura, just chatting about things we love. So thank you for having me.
Yes, I love it. Truly full circle. Met you at a live podcast event for your podcast, and now here recording together. So exciting. And like you, Ashley, we are reality TV aficionados. So
yes,
perfect for us today.
Perfect. We're so excited to have you here, Ashley. Thank you, Shelby, for cultivating all these connections. We see you. And please, Shelby, can you tell us the background of Love is Blind, what it's all about?
Yes. Hopefully, if you're tuning in, you know what Love is Blind is about. But if not, or if you need a refresher, Love is Blind is about singles who want to be loved for who they are, rather than what they look like. They sign up for a less conventional approach to modern dating, where they don't see you. They fall in love behind a wall. Not your typical dating, right? You're not swiping right. So it's very different. It's on Netflix. This is the 6th season. So entertaining. One of my favorite reality dating shows these days. Like peak television. And we did do a part 1 review already, looking at episodes 1 through 9 of the season. So you can check that out. And we've recapped season 4 and 5 as well. But this episode is really to recap the whole season and really figure out what happened.
Yes.
A lot happened. There was the infamous lake house party. You have wedding dress and tuck shopping. Of course, the bachelor and bachelorette parties, the weddings, and then a reunion 1 year later.
Yes, all of it. So Ashley, what were you expecting coming in to the last few episodes of the season with the weddings, the reunion? Tell us what you were thinking going in.
Yeah, so I definitely was surprised by AD and Clay. I think that was just a couple that grew on me that I really started to root for. Yeah, I know it might be a hot
Black
take.
love.
Black love, maybe that's what it was.
I can't. Yeah.
And so I was, because he was surprising me throughout there was, a little bit of
The
growth
growth.
and reflection that I was seeing a lot of growth. So at first I was like, absolutely not. But then I was starting to say, wait, I can't believe this. I'm expecting this to work out. So I think that was one of the expectations that I had that we can talk about later that just, did not happen. And in retrospect, I'm grateful that it did not. But at the time, I think I had some rose colored glasses. And so that was one big expectation. Definitely expected Amy and Johnny to be the all-star loving couple that they are. Did not expect it to be so beautiful and sentimental, and the way that they even just came together with their families. Like, I actually was surprised by the way they were able to reflect that on TV and just see just like genuine love. And when it really works, it works. And I believe that. I'm a hopeful romantic. I would say in my life, it was very similar. I did some dating in my 20s, but when I met my husband in my late 20s, it was that thing that clicked. And so I believe in that. And I think that's part of what Love is Blind is about. Like, there's the drama and everything else, but I'm so happy we had at least one great love story.
Yes.
And we can get into other things. I didn't know what to expect with Chelsea and Jimmy.
Neither did I.
I just thought it was going to be interesting.
Yes.
And it was.
And it was. And it was. Have you seen all the other seasons of Love is Blind, Ashley?
I have. That's how much I love the show. Yes, I am. And I'm
a
committed.
True fan.
I am. And I like every season. I know people have critiques, but I think there's something beautiful and valuable and interesting in every season. Do I remember everyone's names? Probably not. So if you want to go back, I might have to recollect, but like, I've loved every season. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Do you have a favorite season or favorite couple from Love is Blind?
Oh, well, I mean, this one is, well, I was going to say I love Lauren and Cameron because they just started it out and just made us all believe. And it was so beautiful. But I also really liked Brett and Tiffany.
Yes.
I love Brett and Tiffany. And I loved recently just seeing them in the reunion and talking about their love again and how it's still so pure and genuine.
Oh,
yes.
And then how she said that he's a better man every day and things of that nature. And just the way she looks at him, the way he looks at her. I clearly am a fan of this Black love theme, but yeah, I would say those are probably the two that stand out.
Totally. I think
100%.
Shelby's also aligned. Yeah. I love Brett and Tiffany. Like, I'm so obsessed with them. Yes. And Lauren and Cameron are the OGs. They're amazing too. But there's something about Brett and Tiffany that is just like everything. I love them so much. Yeah. Okay. We have to talk about this lake house party because absolutely wild.
Crazy.
But aftermath, we see Laura and Jeramy see each other again. Sarah Ann and that AD conversation was just, so good. I loved seeing that. What did y'all think about this chaotic lake house party? The jet skis, everything. Everything.
It's always my favorite part when all of the people from the pods come together and meet. So not just the couples, and you're like, oh, that's what Trevor looks like? I almost picked him. Like, it's interesting seeing those dynamics. Because Chelsea was looking out for Trevor. And Jimmy was looking out for Jessica. So I was just ready for the drama. I had my popcorn in hand. I do think this one seemed messier than normal because you had Jeramy and Laura already like broken up, not talking. So the fact that he showed up and then like rode off into the sunset with Sarah Ann on the jet skis, it just felt kind of disrespectful for Laura. I felt bad for her.
Yeah. So the lake house, you're right. So much more drama. I think that I was a little bit surprised by the conversation that Jess was having with Laura about Jimmy. And, just because she is a girl's girl, I do love that she did apologize later. Well, she says she's a girl's girl, but I think, and you can tell that I think she redeemed herself later on, at least, and kind of understood and kind of looking back. But it is challenging when you fall in love, and then you see the people, and then you just see it's a perfect kind of microcosm for like all the messiness of our humanity when emotions are coming out. So like all of these people, when you really think of them in isolation, they're like normal human beings. A lot of them probably with great hearts, love their families, give to the community. I don't know. But you put them in this like interesting dynamic and things come out. Like even Sarah Ann, she is not, we don't really like Sarah Ann. We don't really like what happened at this party going off on the jet skis. And the conversation that AD had with her was very bold. I think she was saying things that a lot of us were thinking. I don't know if I would have had that conversation because that's just not my personality, but it's also reality TV. Do you guys think AD just like did that on her own? Is that her personality? Just getting in and asking questions?
Or like if a producer was like, go talk to her. Right.
It's interesting because she was kind of the instigator for a lot, right? She was asking Kenneth questions about Brittany. Like now that I think about it, actually, I'm like, was that her on her own, or did the producers, have a hand in that?
Yeah, I agree with you, Ashley. That was a very bold conversation. I do applaud AD for calling her out and hold her accountable, because the fact that Sarah Ann still thinks she did nothing wrong by going out with someone's fiance till 5 a.m. is wild. AD was like, do you see how this is not okay? And she's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, oh, this girl's delusional. I was like, she's not seeing what everyone else is seeing. So I applauded AD. I similarly would probably never say that, but it had to be said. Someone had to say it. So I commend her for calling Sarah Ann out because she needed to be.
Yeah. No, she was bold and correct. So I applaud her as well.
I love it. Bold and correct.
That's a good way to describe AD.
For sure. Let's dive into the couples, the surviving couples, as of, the last few episodes. So Chelsea and Jimmy, they quickly go up in flames, as we see. They're fighting a lot, and Chelsea, we talked about this in our first half of the season review. She's just giving so much insecurity. Like, do you agree with that, Ashley? Like, have you also noticed that she seems like lacking a lot of confidence in the relationship? Like, what do you think of their dynamic?
Yes. So I think that from everything that we see, she comes off very insecure. We don't know, there's a lot we don't see. And so I always try to give people grace, but like, I'm like starting from the premise of what we see. It's like, she's asking too much. She's asking too much for validation. The man was just working. He's tired. Like I don't know if she wasn't working that day because she's a flight attendant. So her work is different. She's flying. But, people do have different personas when they're focused, right? And so I don't even think Jimmy really even understood that he wasn't giving her attention. He was like, I'm just working. It's not about you right now, kind of thing. And so I just feel like she could have given him more grace. And I think she was just reading into things that weren't really there. I really think the man was working. I really think he did like her. I do think, though, their whole like the use of the phrase I love you to act as a band-aid for any issue that they're having is not the healthiest thing to do. I think it's a thing you do when you're young. No offense to the young people. When I was young, maybe you guys are actually way more emotionally mature than I was dating in my young 20s. Or how old are these people though? Aren't they in there? Are they
No,
Yeah, a
Chelsea
lot of them were in
was
their
30,
30s.
31.
Oh,
Was Chelsea
oh,
31?
Yeah,
okay.
Chelsea's
Yeah.
31.
It
Okay.
ranged because you had Kenneth
Yeah.
and Brittany. They were like 24, 25. So it ranged.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know. I was married at that age, but
Yikes.
yeah, no, I think she needed a lot of reassurance. And I think that builds up and can be annoying. And then I think Jimmy used the word clingy. And that was bad, though. Poor word choice,
So bad.
sir. That's just going to escalate the situation. I think what a beautiful thing is that someone can do in a relationship is this is something that my husband did. I was like, oh, am I being clingy? And he was like, no, you just care. And my heart melted.
Aw,
I said, that's why you're the
so
one.
sweet.
But
I wonder if they have very different like love languages or their personalities clash or something, because it felt like Jimmy thought he was doing enough and Chelsea was like, no, you're not doing enough. And it just felt like they were always clashing. And I also think Jimmy and his life, just the way he lived, clashed with what Chelsea wanted or like her insecurities. So the fact that he had close girlfriends and had a past with one of them, that was like a big trigger for Chelsea. And I feel like just that fact led to a lot more drama and fighting than might have happened if it was like someone else that he was dating. It just happened that for Chelsea, having a lot of close girlfriends is triggering for her, since in the past she's had guys with close girlfriends cheat on her. So it
Totally.
just seems like a bad match because of their past trauma, personality types, and I think because of that, it was doomed.
Doomed. Absolutely doomed.
yeah.
And one thing, kind of like you said, they're so incompatible. Like, I can't
Yes.
believe they got engaged in the pods. Like, how? And Chelsea, one thing that really stood out when she was like, you know, you go out and party, like you went to a friend's birthday, like I can't have that. Like I need someone to stay home with me all the time. I was like, he was out for like an hour. I genuinely thought that was so, I could not believe it. I was like, he's not a party boy. He was at a friend's birthday party. That was one thing I was just like, what is going on? And yeah, I'm also curious what y'all thought about Chelsea bringing up on camera. This was a big thing at the reunion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in confidence, off camera, Jimmy said, yeah, one of the girls who you met, one of my friends, she and I had slept together in the past. And she brought it up on camera and was like, well, you slept with her. And Jimmy was really upset by that. So what did y'all think about that?
Yeah. So I get Jimmy being upset, but it was very clear that Chelsea was very intoxicated in that conversation. So number one, I felt very bad for her because they're just like putting up a bad moment. Because the thing about Chelsea is like, I think we all still love her as fans. Like I really do like Chelsea. I just think that she was not operating from a very clear mind in that moment. So she was just being a highly emotional, being herself with alcohol. And that is something that, like Shelby said earlier, like she could not take. And so I know she feels really bad about it, but I think a lot of people can't take that. I would not be able to do that. I would not be able to have my partner be close friends with someone that they're texting with all the time, that they're really, and they've had a previous sexual relationship. That would bother me. I think it would bother a lot of people. So I don't think it's an unreasonable thing the way it played out. I think it was a really bad moment that she had.
Yeah.
And Jimmy just couldn't let it go because that is his friend. And so I actually see both sides. But because I'm just like a woman and I can empathize, I'm like Team Chelsea here. But I know it was bad. But I would honestly probably do the same thing. Like not just being so, because it was clearly like festering and it was a buildup. And when you are drinking and you're emotional and you're upset, the things just kind of come out, and it came out.
the next morning when they were like, I love you, everything's okay.
Crazy.
Like you said, I love you as a Band-Aid. I was like, wait, y'all were just saying you want to break up and that you hate each other 12 hours ago? Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. What did y'all think of the amusement park date breakup scene? Because it felt weird to me that they had a really nice amusement park final date. They're having a good time. And then Jimmy's asked the question, what are you going to do at the altar? And then he's like, oh, I want to break up with you.
First of all, I thought it was hilarious that they went to an amusement park with roller coasters. I was like, is this a metaphor for their relationship? Are the producers doing this on purpose? And I also wonder if there was something with the editing there as well, because it was very abrupt and it didn't necessarily make sense. Him asking the question, her going through and professing her love, and then him saying, I love you, but no. It just, I wonder if like we're missing parts of that conversation because it didn't really, it was very unclear. But I do think that Jimmy loved her or cared about her. And I think he also saw that this was very toxic. And like, we are fighting all the time. And like, this is not comfortable. There's like a lot of discomfort in the way that we're communicating. So yeah, it kind of also reminds me of how like Clay handled the situation, which we'll get to. But yeah, just kind of like turning on and off. And it was, I could see like she was blindsided. Chelsea seemed so shocked. And I get it. It was odd.
That's such a good comparison between how, like you said, we'll get to it. Clay, said no at the altar. 80 was shocked because he was just profusing his love, the way he was talking. And I do think Jimmy definitely blindsided Chelsea.
100%. I felt bad for Chelsea. She was all in somehow, even though this relationship was just a train wreck, hot mess, dumpster fire. But I think finally Jimmy was like, this is really bad. So I'm happy that he was like, cut it off, because she was like all in, right? So, but yeah, that was hard to see. That was really hard to see. Okay. 80 and Clay. Let's talk about it. Let's get into this couple.
Love couple.
Oh, goodness. If you listen to our episode reviewing the first half of the seasons, episodes 1 through 9, oh my goodness, I was going hard on this couple because I just think AD is so much better than Clay. Clay was giving so many red flags, and I wanted to root for them. I was rooting for them at a point.
I know.
But Clay kept on giving so many excuses in the first half and in the last few episodes. I was just like, I can't with this man. I absolutely can't. Okay, so we meet Clay's parents, and this is very interesting, very juicy. What did you think of Clay's mom and Clay's dad and us meeting both of these parents?
I loved his mother.
Yes.
First of all, I don't know if you guys noticed this. I loved the cadence of her voice. I was like, she should be a podcaster. Like, she has this beautiful voice that is so soothing. I was like, yes, please, I will listen to you and please give me advice. And she was so wise and so graceful. And I don't know, I just really, something about her, I really liked. I appreciated her honesty and her support of her son, but also just her having that conversation with his father, I think was probably one of the most authentic, real, interesting moments I have seen on reality TV. And I really loved how she held him accountable. His dad, I was a little, what is the word? What is the euphemism for this word? For what I'm trying to say? Not embarrassed, but, he is of my culture. So he's Guyanese. So when Clay said, yeah, my dad's a smooth Guyanese man, I was like, hold on. Let's not put cheating on all Guyanese men. My father's Guyanese. He's an amazing man. Wonderful man. Not cheat on my mother. And then, I don't know, my husband, he's an alpha. I don't know if you guys saw this. In social media, he had that alpha pin.
Yes.
So I'm like, he's literally representing our family not well right now. I did not like how he blamed his trauma on, or blame like his mistakes on his trauma. I get that he didn't have a father, but he had mentioned that with the cheating. And I think it's just, it would have been so nice. And I know it's hard on TV, but I hope at some point, you know, his dad just talks about how wrong he was and apologizes to Clay, just like what his mother said. And even he tried to do that charming, sly thing. He's like, oh, yeah, Clay will meet someone like his mother. And she said, but you didn't treat me well. And that moment, y'all, that I literally, I stopped it. I went back. I said, she corrected that man. She was bold and correct, just like AD.
Yes.
Let's bring it back full circle. And it was so nice. Like he couldn't get out of it by being like charming or whatever, you know, and she's forgiven him. But I also felt bad for his mother too, because things came out, like she said, like going on the trips when he was cheating and taking Clay with him and experiencing that trauma and seeing that. And then seeing his father in that way, that all made me sad. It made me sad that Clay didn't see those figures like of strong Black men being great husbands. And, you know, he said he really didn't see that. And that narrative is sad to me just because I've only seen that. I have come from a family of, my parents were married, my late mother, bless my mother, but they were married before she passed for over 30 years. I come from, my dad has all brothers. I've seen them all in wonderful marriages, all Black men, Guyanese men.
Let them know.
And so it did make me sad because there is that narrative and I know it exists, but there's like this other narrative. And the way that we do that is we change the narrative. Like my dad came from divorced parents, right? So there are ways to change the narrative. And so that whole part, like I felt so much as like a Black woman, like it just stirred up so many different emotions in me. And the last thing I'll say about Clay's dad too, though, is he was also a track runner, and I was a track runner in college. I was like, what is, like, he has all the, what is happening? And then his speech, y'all remember that speech?
Oh my gosh.
If you don't, what was he saying? If you don't do this, you don't. And it was like a poem, but like, it was just fascinating.
Didn't really make sense to me.
No, that trait passed down, not making sense.
I'm screaming. I can't. I similarly was disappointed because sadly it seems like on TV the narratives around Black men are always negative. Like I think back to Matt James's season on The Bachelor. I don't know if you watched The Bachelor, Ashley, but
yes, I do. Of course I do.
Shelby, please don't talk about
Matt James. Maybe it's triggering bringing it up, but the way Matt James's relationship with his dad and cheating was portrayed is like so similar to how Clay's is. And I just hate that the portrayals are so similar. It's like we rarely get to see a positive portrayal of Black men in committed relationships on TV. So it was tough to see that again with Clay's dad.
Like you said, there's just this narrative that Black men can't stay loyal. And I'm just like, why is there this narrative? It doesn't make any sense. It's just excuses. Everything Clay was saying was just full of excuses. You know, I haven't seen, you know, positive male role models in my life. Like, how am I not going to cheat on my wife? And it's like, how does that make sense? Like, literally, how does that make sense?
You have self-control.
Yes, just don't cheat on your wife. Like, I don't
just
understand.
Don't do it.
Just don't do it. So I totally agree. I love the moms this season were really slaying. Like Clay's mom, AD's mom, love them so much. I just
Amy's
love
mom,
the way. Yes. I just love the way that Clay's mom put her husband, her ex, in her place. Like that was one of the best things I've ever seen on reality TV. Like that conversation, I just need to keep rewatching it. Chef's kiss. It was amazing.
On repeat.
Yes.
I really liked AD's look at the bachelorette party and wedding. Like she's just been looking amazing this whole season. But particularly the wedding dress, I was just blown away.
Yeah, I loved her. I loved her reunion look too.
Oh, yeah.
Like incredible. She looked amazing. did not love how when I loved her wedding look too, but like did not love how Clay was like, okay, body at her wedding. What? Why
Yeah.
do we, huh? But
I can't
Oh
take it.
my gosh.
I heard something interesting from a friend being like, a lot of people think that AD or maybe like Clay was just really obsessed with like her body and like how she looked. Like there were so many comments about AD's body this season, just in general. And he kept on like, that's the first thing you say to her when she walks down the aisle. Okay, body, and she was like, yeah. And it's like, can we not just always sexualize AD the entire time? I just thought that was so weird, and the way he was talking about his friends, he was like, yeah, the sexual chemistry is like so good. It was like, why can we not do that? Like, why
What
do we
else
keep on
do you
talking
like
about
about
AD?
her?
Yeah, right?
Is there
Oh my
anything else?
gosh.
yeah, no, completely agree. She was definitely just hypersexualized the entire season as the only Black woman on there. And I didn't love that part either.
No,
So
Yeah.
bad. So bad.
that was
Did
tough.
you guys think that Clay was going to say yes at the altar?
I did. That's why I was so shocked. I really did. Especially when he was at the altar and he was giving that speech and talking about how much he loved her and then but said, "Oh, I can't marry you." Like I was very shocked.
Mm.
So was I. Even though Clay kept giving red flags, his speech, it felt like he was convincing himself. Like at that point, it seemed like, okay, this is what I should do. I'm going to do it. And he really hadn't given much hesitation to AD over the last like few days, like leading up to it. It seemed like they were pretty confident. So I was shocked. I gasped. I had to like pause my TV. It's like, wait, did he say no? I know you, Laura, were not, because you have been on Clay this whole time.
No, I predicted it. I said I knew that Clay was no good for her, and I think at the end of our first half review of Love Is Blind, I was like, I'm predicting that AD's gonna say yes and Clay will say no, because AD was so excited about him, like she was so in love, like she said, I'd do anything for this man. And Clay kept on making excuses, being like, I don't know if I can stay loyal. I don't know if I'm ready. Clearly, he is so far from ready for getting married. But I really had a feeling, and I wanted him to say no. I know that, Ashley, you said you were rooting for them, and there was a point, like, in the beginning episodes where I was like, oh, like, they seem so sweet. But Clay kept on losing me with all the excuses. So I was like, I'm really hoping that Clay says no, because AD, like, she's trying to fix him, right? Like, she's a fixer, and she could do so much better than him, and Clay is just so not ready for marriage. So I had a feeling. I was not surprised. I was happy. I was like celebrating. I was like, yes, like AD, you got out of here. Like, you're not with this man. Get away from him. Run as far as you can. But I was really devastated just seeing her reaction. Like, she was heartbroken. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, that was just really tough to watch her reaction. I felt so bad for her, but I actually agree with you now. I'm so happy that he said no, and because I think I got fooled, or like there's something about him that made me believe. But when you look back at it, he could not articulate why he loved her. It was all about him. It was all about she supports me. She can make me a better man. He never used adjectives to describe how incredible she is. What she did is she said, he's charming, he's hardworking, he's an entrepreneur, he's like trying to grow to be a better man. It was all about how she supported him. And that is exactly what you do not want when you're going into a long-term relationship. You don't want that. That is like the additive. What you really want is you want someone to love you for who you are, and all of that. You want them to be able to actually describe it, right? It's not like this is what she does for me, because it sounded like conditional love. And I know to a certain extent when we think about relationships, conditional love is, there are certain commitments you make. So there are certain conditions. I think unconditional love is like God, Jesus, and being a parent is what I hear. So there are some conditions, but I think that you really know when someone is in love when they can say, I like this person's soul. I like this person's ability to overcome challenges and do X, Y, and Z. I like this person's curiosity. This, insert whatever adjective that makes them uniquely who they are. And Clay couldn't say one thing about this woman except about her body.
Okay, Bobby.
So, and so it was just like, oh man, like what if AD is going through a challenging time in her life and she can't do all the things to support him that he needs? Is he just going to like leave her? So I just, yes, Laura, you were right. Yes, Laura.
I can't. Like you said, when times are tough, what is Clay gonna say to AD? AD, get in that gym. Remember he said that to her?
Awful.
When she was like, what if I'm like,
Yes.
gain some weight after the baby? He'd be like, get in that gym. I was like, that's not what you say. So yeah, I'm happy that he said no. Very happy.
Yep. Ashley, I just want to say you are dropping relationship gems. So
Yes.
everybody, if you are single, listen to Ashley, take some notes.
Yes, I am taking notes, totally. And after he said no, AD's like crying her fake eyelashes off, like behind, like in the women's quarters. And the audacity for him to try and like kiss on her, hug her, be like, I love you, I love you. Like, AD, like, you're making me feel so bad about what I did. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, this isn't a no. It's just not right now. All this stuff. I was so upset watching that. I was like, get out of there. Why are you trying to kiss her? Like, all this stuff. It was so strange. I really did not like that.
Yeah, it's crazy to me how that's happened a few times in Love is Blind. When someone says no on the altar, they're like, oh, but no, we can still date. We can still be together. It's like, if we haven't talked about this, why in the world would I want to continue this relationship? Unless we had aligned, like, okay, we're both going to say no at the altar. We're not going to get married. We want to keep dating. But if not, and you're just blindsiding me with a no when I thought we were about to get married, why would I want to stay with you? And I think AD said something really good. She was like, if he doesn't want to be with me right now, like, why would I want to be with him later? Like, what's the point?
Well said.
Yes. Okay. I think we said what we need to say about AD and Clay. Okay.
Yes.
Our love story. Finally. Amy and Johnny. So I loved Amy's parents. Her dad was so sweet.
Oh.
And I loved because there was drama. She was like, I don't know if my dad will like him. And then when her dad is like, Amy, he's great. I approve. Like, that was so sweet. I loved that moment.
Yeah, I feel like I rarely cry when watching the show, but I got emotional when Amy's dad approved of Johnny and when Amy's mom was like crying at the dress fitting. I was like, oh my gosh, Amy, your parents are so sweet.
Yeah, same here. I loved it. And I did. He's another, like, I want to meet Amy's dad. I feel like he's, some parents just stand out as those parents that you love. And the love that he has for his daughter was just very clear. It was very beautiful. It reminded me of my dad, so maybe that's why I loved it so much. And I also just liked how it was a really good case study for the Love is Blind kind of what you're trying to achieve with Love is Blind. Like, one, you want people to fall in love without seeing one another. They did that. And the person that may not necessarily be their type. So Amy does mention, I would go for darker features. She would go for someone probably of her, like a Latino guy of her culture. But so he wasn't necessarily her physical type, but they really, really fell in love. Her dad wasn't really on board, didn't really understand it, but then met him, approved, and saw that love. It's like they kind of overcame all of the unfortunate things that other people sometimes don't overcome, and like are a really good example of how Love is Blind can work. So that's why they're the reason I'm going to keep watching for the next season. And they're just so cute together.
Yes. The Love is Blind poster child.
I loved the conversation this season about birth control. I thought that was so interesting. As reality TV aficionados, I hadn't seen a conversation like that on reality TV. Shelby and I dove into it on our, first half of the season review. Ashley, what did you think of the issues and conversations Amy and Johnny had about birth control this season?
Yeah, so I was confused. I'm not gonna lie. I was so confused by Johnny. Like, I love him now, but at first I was like, why is this man like tripping? Like she doesn't want to have it probably because of there's different side effects that can some people get acne, whatever it may be. There's everybody's body is different. I know that happened with like friends of mine, so they got off of it. And I was just like, condoms exist because he's so afraid to like have a child right now. Like it was just he was so, afraid. The fear, at least, is what the editing showed. And so I was really confused. And I don't know if he explained it in the reunion, but do either of you remember? Like, did he justify it? Did you get clarity?
Right. My understanding was that Johnny is so scared of not being ready to have a child, right? He was like, what if, we're not financially stable? And what if this and that? And he was like, I want us to really plan for it. And when we're ready, we're going to start trying. And Amy was like, well, say it happens and we're married and it happens sooner than we want. Like, I'd be okay with that. And he was like, I don't want that at all. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I just think he really, really wants to be in the right place for it. And maybe he's not ready financially or like, and they don't have a house, etc. I think that's what I took away. Shelby, do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I do think on the reunion, he mentioned that he clearly didn't know enough about birth control. Like, I think he was uninformed or misinformed. And
clearly
he realizes like the impact that like birth control can have on a woman, that a vasectomy isn't just an easy thing. Like he said that he had to educate himself and now they're okay. They're finding a way. I mean, Laura and I saw on social media that they now have a paid partnership with Natural Cycles and are talking about how they're using that as birth control. I was like, good for them. Finding like the sponsorship branding opportunity that aligns with their storyline on Love is Blind. Classic. But I definitely think Johnny was maybe showing his immaturity, and now he has learned, educated himself, and knows how to discuss birth control.
I see. Can you explain what is Natural Cycles? I'm so curious.
Yeah, yes. I had to look it up.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what is that? Okay.
In a video, they literally do a Q&A talking about it because I think a lot of people had questions. It's an app that tracks like a woman's like heat temperature and regulation. So you're like only having like sex at certain times where you're like not ovulating or like there's like a very limited chance that you would get pregnant. So it's like a natural way of preventing getting pregnant.
Oh, okay, so it's like the inverse of those apps that track your period so that you can get pregnant, that a lot of like my friends use and are, because we're in our 30s trying to have babies. And I don't know if I shared, but I'm pregnant. So yeah.
Woo!
But
Congrats. Exciting.
Thank you. So yeah, we were doing the opposite of what they were trying to do. But yeah.
I'm happy they're still together and they figured out their issues. So good for them. And they're getting paid.
Yeah. That part.
Best of both worlds.
We went through the couples. We gotta talk about this reunion. So as I talked about, Amy and Johnny, they're still happily, they're together, they're not having babies, so good for them, I guess. Also, Amy looked amazing. She looked like a supermodel.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. And this was interesting. They hadn't done this before. They brought back the previous couples and singles from other seasons. What did y'all think about seeing all the blasts from the past?
I thought it was great. I feel like they should do that more often. Create that Love is Blind universe, right? Reinforce the couples we know and remember. I also like how, I think it was the first time they had the reunion in the pods. and we're back on that set, which I'm like, why haven't they done that before? It's good. Like, continue to highlight the Love is Blind brand. So I like the new touches.
Yeah, me too. I think it was very kind of reminiscent of some of the Bachelor Nation stuff you see, and it becomes this whole like franchise, and you still follow the folks. Because I forgot about Brendan and is it Alexa, and how they like announced having a child, and then like how she had gone through some fertility issues and shared that. Like I thought that was like a really nice narrative, and how they're having a baby, and thought that was really beautiful. And they're another couple that's super, super different that made it. So yeah, it was good to see all the different couples.
Totally. And just shows you all the success that Love is Blind has had, especially compared to Bachelor Nation, where people stay together for like 2 weeks and then they break up.
Yeah.
So
and they just get their brand deals.
Right, exactly. They get their followers and then they become influencers. Speaking of Bachelor Nation, Giannina and Blake Hortzman, wow, what a wild couple. I can't believe they're together and having a baby.
Happy for her. I feel like Damien, was that his name? Damien was not the one. So I feel like Giannina's in a better place. Do I think Blake's better? I hope so. Like, Blake had his own issues on Bachelor Nation, you know? So...
Stagecoach.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy because when I was watching it, I was like, Blake, I know this man. Who is this man? Like, is he on something? Was he an actor? Like, I had to Google him. And then I realized he was on The Bachelor a few times. And I also love Giannina's new look. I love her hair like that. Like, I think she looked amazing. But I recall too much of what Blake did. So I didn't have that initial reaction, like the way you guys are having that. I just was like, oh, cute. 2 reality stars.
Worlds collide.
Worlds colliding. Yeah, Blake was a very controversial Bachelor figure. He was on, was it Becca's season of The Bachelor?
Yeah, he was the runner-up on Becca's season, and everyone loved him. Like, he was great on The Bachelorette. But then he went to Bachelor in Paradise and caused a lot of drama. And that's when his reputation turned.
Yeah, basically, there's this country music festival called Stagecoach, and it's something that the Bachelor contestants go to basically every year. And it's just like a big Bachelor party for all the Bachelor Nation people. And apparently, like, Blake slept with like 3 women who were at Stagecoach, like during Stagecoach. And then all of those women were on Bachelor in Paradise together. And it was just a really hot mess. Like, he played it so bad. Like, everyone hated him. Like, he was one of the most hated people in Bachelor Nation. He looked really bad. So, and now you see him on Love is Blind with Giannina having a baby. And you're just like, what happened? Like, how did we get here?
I want to know how they met. Like, I know. Are there Love is Blind and Bachelor meetups? Like, how does that work?
Right? I'm curious. Yes. I also loved during the reunion how Nick and Vanessa Lachey really held people accountable this time. Because I think in the past they've been really easy on folks, you know, who's caused a lot of trouble during the season. So I loved how specifically they spent the first 30 minutes just basically coming for Sarah Ann and Jeramy. And I loved every second of it. I loved it. What did y'all think of Sarah and Jeramy, like, dating right now, which is very strange, and all their controversy?
Listen, if they're happy, I'm happy. Like, Laura seems to be happy. Was she like in Barcelona for work, like living her best life, looking amazing and dating someone? So we're happy about that. I think that Chelsea mentioned that they had broken up. And so I think they had gone through their like drama. They'd broken up and then gotten back together, and now they live together. You know, I don't know. I do not know what will happen there. You know, and Jeramy for me was also just such an enigma. Like, I feel like I kind of loved him in the pods, and then after we didn't, but then he became quite stoic. And then the whole like, sharing the location gate was what we call it or whatever. And you know, he just kind of confused me because I just really liked him and Laura. And then it was just such a quick flip. But there were these little things, like he even said that he wanted to meet Sarah Ann. I think at one of the parties when he was talking to Amy, and Amy was like, hands up. I didn't hear that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there were some little clues that perhaps he wasn't all in. But you know, them getting together, I'm not gonna like hate on their love. If they're happy, they already probably have so much hate from the world.
Yeah.
So prayers to them. They just weren't, they're just not that, you know, like I just don't know. I just don't know.
I think that's a good point. If they're happy, let them be happy. I do think the more we hear about Jeramy, like, I don't know, Ashley, you heard how he had like a fiance right before he came on the show and they like broke up right before. Like, the more you hear about him and you think about some of the things he said throughout the season, they're like red flags. So if anything, I'm kind of concerned for Sarah Ann. I'm like, is Jeramy the guy you want to be with? But if they want to make it work, let them go for it.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes. And I also love Jeremy's mom. Like, she
Yes.
really held him accountable, and she just started laughing. She was like, yeah, I mean, I would do the same thing. Like, she didn't like put up with his crap. And was just like, yeah, like, you kind of deserve that. So it was just like, okay, mom. She was giving him tough love, and I appreciated that. One thing I think they could have done better is initially they came in too hot. Because the thing is, a lot of the other guests, they did a good job of, as an example, Clay. He like came in and was just like really apologetic. Jess, for the thing that she thought, the conversation she had, you know, that was disrespectful to Chelsea, came in, immediately apologized. But they were like a bit on the defensive. And I think if they just would have up front, like even when Laura Ann came on and she was like, should we clap? And then Jeremy's like, no.
Ugh.
They should have clapped. Like, what did Laura do to you? Like, if they would have came in with some little speech and did the whole, it would have changed the whole dynamic, you know? And hopefully it was coming from a genuine place. Like, it's been a year, but I know people have gotten together in perhaps not the best circumstances. You know, there are other people involved and they're still together and really happy, you know? So they could have handled it better.
Totally. I agree. Like, should we clap? I thought that was so annoying. It's like, it's been a year. She's in Barcelona. Clap for her. Like, it just made no sense. And that video of her being like, this is entertainment, baby. We're giving you a good show. I was like, that was so cringy. And I loved how Vanessa was like, is this a game to you? I loved how she came for Sarah Ann.
Yikes.
So bad. I loved that.
I like that they brought the receipts. They also brought the receipts with Trevor.
Yes.
Remember that?
Loved that. Loved that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was shocked, to be honest, because that's the other thing I've noticed. I'm like millennial auntie here. I'm not so good with like the social media and the aftermath. Like, I only really have time for the show. I have like limited social media time. So I didn't see all of that. I didn't see these like text messages that came out, and he was just speechless. He had nothing to say. There was nothing to say. One thing I'll say that perhaps people aren't even giving him credit for, and I don't know if he even deserves credit for this, but some people would just like lie. And so it was good that at least he had no words. He was embarrassed. He knew he was wrong, and hopefully he'll learn from this. Right. I don't want this generation to start using therapy as this Band-Aid that they can get out of. Like, that was something that was interesting too, that Clay did. It's like, I'm going, you know, I need therapy. I'm going to go to therapy. Like, I was like, okay, you know, therapy's great. Love therapy, but that doesn't necessarily get you out of, you know, it doesn't right the wrong. But that was something I took away. I was like, okay, at least he just didn't deny it.
Yeah, that's such a good
point.
That's
fair.
I agree. He showed up, right? Like, that's one thing. A lot of people just wouldn't have even come. And he didn't make excuses. He was like, yeah, I was in a really toxic relationship. Even though what he was saying didn't make sense, but at least it seems like he owned what he did. He was like, yeah, I was in a toxic relationship. I was saying all these things. I was trying to get on here, to get out of that. I don't know if I truly believe him, but at least it didn't seem like he was making excuses. So unlike, other men on the cast. So I did appreciate that. But he was just sitting there, nothing. And he was like, and then he just got up and left. Yeah, apparently the people online are saying that he was like, I can't go out there, like I'm gonna have a panic attack, and I heard that he was like, I need to leave, like I can't be on this couch, like, or I'm gonna like really lose it. So I think they cut it in a way that made it seem like very like alarming, and you're like, wait, he's just getting up. But I think he was like really, really like stressed out and in a really bad place. I mean, clearly he seemed like he was in a really bad place.
Yeah.
I hate to hear that. I mean, yes, I'm glad he's being held accountable, but you never want someone to have like a breakdown or a panic attack because of all the pressure and pushback.
Yeah. We forgive you, Trevor. We
yeah,
hope
it's
you're
okay,
well.
Trevor. Like, take a deep breath. We do not hate you.
Yes. Yes. I also, as you alluded to, Ashley, Clay, like Trevor's like, yeah, I'm gonna put in the work, I'm gonna go to therapy, all this stuff. And Clay's saying he wants AD back, and he's like, yeah, I'd date her in a heartbeat. I was like, what are we doing here? I loved how she was like, no, you lost your chance. No.
Too little, too late.
Yeah, too little, too late.
What do you think of Clay and AD's reaction when they were talking about Matthew and how AD did see and have dates with Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, he was uncomfortable. Like Clay's face there was like a lot of discomfort on his face, but he was trying to be cool. He's like, put his hands up, like, but didn't speak on it, which I think was probably smart. But I think, it's probably challenging for this woman. Yeah. We're Clay is still, we're all confused by him still, but I do think he does deeply care for AD. And so I can see how that would just be like challenging to see her go on other dates, even though he didn't pick her. And he didn't love Matthew, right? Like he did not love Matthew in the pods. He was like, what? That man, like, you don't, like, you don't even know this. Like, he's not what you think he is. And when they played back though, the scene, man, who would have thought Matthew was a real player? Like, that's the other thing too. It's a small degree of separation, but at least when people own their mistakes, like the Trevors and the Clays of the world, there's an opportunity for some sort of growth and redemption. Mm-hmm. But with Matthew, he really said the same thing to these women. And the whole thing is so sentimental for AD with her father because she lost her father. Mm-hmm. And so all of that hits even harder for her. And so you're playing on her emotions and you're saying, I'll leave with you today. Like he had this whole script. And it was just weird because I believed him in the beginning. Like he was playing off like I'm socially awkward and I usually don't do this. And this is why I have this list and I have 1 to 4, whatever. I have these questions because, I want to try to get out there and start dating. But like, I feel like the whole thing was an act. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
100%. He was like, I'm not going to be a villain on reality TV. Remember, in the pods, he was like, America loves an underdog. I was like,
oh, yeah, I forgot.
What is going on? What is going on? Clearly, he was like, I'm not here for followers. I'm not here for likes. Clearly you are, because you're talking to an audience that doesn't exist in the pods. Like, who is this guy? And he didn't even show up to the reunion. So it just shows that, I don't know, he's a clown with no backbone, unfortunately. I wonder what he's up to. Hope he's doing well. But I agree. He clearly wasn't there for the right reasons.
Yeah, the other part of the reunion that was a little questionable to me was the fact that Kenneth and Brittany got like no airtime. Did you guys notice that? Like it felt like they were on screen for like 2 seconds.
Yeah. And they said it too. Like, she was like, finally, our time,
So
you know?
awkward.
Yeah, and I'm sad about that because I was confused. I had lots of questions. So I think it would have been really interesting to kind of unpack their love story that turned into a friendship and kind of get a better understanding of Kenneth. I think Kenneth is also an enigma to me. I think he said a lot of great things and he's a very articulate Black man. We love it. Who's a principal doing things for the people. So we love Kenneth for all of that. We support you. He's 25. We love that he's got strong values, Christian. They like, he supported all of her. They didn't want to, what are they waiting till marriage? Like all of that was like really beautiful in their conversations. But in the real world, it was there were so many questions.
Yeah.
And I felt like the reunion missed the opportunity to talk more about like the lack of physical chemistry, the, lack of attention, his, obsession with his phone. Like what was happening? Like, what is going on here?
Right. So many questions, not enough answers. Yeah, they're bizarre. As we talked about in our first review of this season, I immediately got a friend vibe, like immediately. So I'm not surprised that they're now friends. I think it's kind of weird that they talk like every single day. They're like, yeah, we call each other every day. That's a lot.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Have y'all heard some of the drama around, oh, do I have tea? I never bring tea. Laura's always the one who brings tea to this. Basically, one of my friends was telling me that the reason AD spoke to Kenneth about Brittany and like how does, she feel about like dating a Black man is because apparently in like the women's quarters, Brittany was telling everyone how she only dates Black men. She really wants biracial children and almost like she fetishizes like Black men. And apparently production like edited it out because they didn't want to show it. I've not seen the receipts about it, but this is what I am hearing from fellow Love is Blind watchers.
That is problematic. Yeah.
Like,
what? What is that?
I have not heard that.
You haven't?
Wow, no, I haven't. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean,
I know.
the way she talked about race a couple times on the season, I was like, I don't like this. She was like, well, 80 as a Black woman coming to talk to you as a Black man, like, I know I'm a white woman. Like, she was saying things, I was like, this is weird, I don't like this. I would have never thought that.
Right?
Yeah, I know, same. I know that like he said something, right? And I think you might have discussed this on the last episode. I was like, you date Black men. Or he said something like that to her. Yeah, there was a quick moment like just saying that she's aware because he was worried after he had the conversation with AD, just how his family would receive it and just wanting to reiterate that. And I think it did come up briefly, but it didn't sound like she had this fetish or she only dated Black men. It was more so, she had like dated interracially before. And so when you date interracially, your perspective broadens and you learn things and you come into the relationship with like some sort of knowledge. And so what I thought was going on was more so she had dated a Black guy in the past at some point. And like she was taking what she knew from that relationship and trying to use like appropriate language.
Right.
And maybe it backfired on TV. But I thought she was like trying. Like for me, I'm always like, if you're trying, like I'm okay because you don't have the lived experience as a Black woman, but you're a white woman dating a Black man and you're really trying. Even if you get it wrong, like that's okay because it's hard to be an ally. Like as someone who supports other communities, it can be like very alienating. So I was like, I had like a very positive view. So this new tea, that is like the opposite. I hope it is not true.
I know. It makes me look at Brittany a lot differently.
So, who or what from Love is Blind season 6 did you love to hate?
Social media. Yes, I just gave some tea, which came from social media. But I do feel like this season, there was almost like too much outside of the show that it felt like you had to pay attention to. I initially was like, oh my gosh, Trevor seems so great. And then I find out oh no, he had a girlfriend right before, when he was on the show. And I'm like, what? And it makes you like watch everything differently. So I just feel like social media had almost like too big of a role this season. And then of course the fact that like castmates and like are getting hate. I don't like that stuff. I'm like, do people not have better things to do than like comment mean things? Like, let's stop. Like, let's not be mean on social media.
I'm gonna say Clay.
Shocker.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been in the hate category. I think that, like we've talked about, cool, like, you know that you have issues, but what are you actually doing to, you know, grow and learn from these issues? It's just like, yeah, like, I have trauma. And, like, that's kind of where it ends with him. So I'm just hoping that he really uses this experiment to grow, because he has so much potential. But I feel like Love is Blind is not the place you go to grow. Love is Blind is where you go when you're ready to get married. Like, that's the whole point of the show. So I'm irritated with him. Like, why did you come on Love is Blind when you know you're not ready for marriage? Like, he knew he wasn't ready for marriage. And I loved when AD was like, you played me this whole time. Like, you knew you didn't want to get married. Like, why were you here? I'm hopeful. I want Clay to grow and learn from this experience. But yeah, he was struggling a lot this season.
We're aligned. Same sentiment. But we're rooting for you, Clay. We're rooting for you and your growth. Mine was probably love to hate the lake house whole situation, just because I do love it when they all come together and they see everyone and they bring the past folks around, and just like it does make for a really interesting dynamic. But interesting also is like drama infused. And so it creates like interesting dynamics, interesting conversations, some not so great, some not so nice. Like, it wasn't wonderful to see Sarah Ann on the jet skis with Jeramy riding off into the sunset, like when Laura's heart is broken. Like, that is not good. But like, it's also like, oh, that's an interesting scene. Like, love to hate it. Don't know how I feel about it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, totally agree. Great choice. And for hate to hate, great segue. I have Sarah Ann and Jeramy. I just think they were so villainous this season. Like, so villainous. And it was not fun, you know. If they're happy, great, cool for them. But yeah, watching them, and even at the reunion, like, there was no remorse. Like, they're in their villain era, and I'm not enjoying it. So that's what I have.
Screaming, not villain era.
Yes.
For me, two things. One, Chelsea's reunion dress. The feathery sleeves were just too much for me. I don't expect the most amazing fashion, but AD, Amy, like a lot of people were stepping it up. So for Chelsea to look like that, I was like, oof, girl, not the right dress. And then I just feel like Trevor had like major clown energy throughout the season, especially, I mean, no, he had a girlfriend the whole time. And I wish that he would have defended himself a bit better. Like, maybe I'd feel a little differently if at the reunion he had something to say, but he was like speechless. I think he did have a chance to try and redeem himself and just fell flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, these are all good ones. So I will preface this with the fact that, you know, I'm about to be a mom and I love all humans. So I don't hate, right? We're saying that just for the record. But
yes.
And like, the part of my work is like the complexity of our humanity and grace and all that. So but I am a little, you know, like a little mess. That's where I'm talking about Love is Blind with you. And Matthew, come on, Matthew. Like, you didn't redeem yourself. You didn't come onto the reunion and say anything about what you did. You lied to these women. You played with their hearts. You played with sentimental things. You came in and like had a whole act. We can talk about all these different people because they show different sides of themselves. And so we can always like say something good about everyone. I feel like we've like during this conversation have certainly held them accountable, but we've been able to say something good. And I feel like I cannot do that with Matthew. And I want to do that by the end of the season with everyone. And Matthew let me down. You let me down, Matthew. So yeah.
Great pick.
Perfect
I agree.
for the category.
Like you said, no hate here, no hate
Yeah,
here.
it's fun. It's for the categories.
No,
yeah,
I know.
No real hate, everyone. No real hate.
Yes. So, on to Love to Love. So, of course, we have Amy and Johnny. They're wonderful. Johnny has clearly grown a lot, which we love to see. And they showed like real love, right? And that love is blind. You know, Amy has said she would have never talked to Johnny at a bar or like swiped right or anything. So it's really cute seeing them just be such a strong couple together. And we also talked about Clay's mom, like icon queen. Like, give her a reality TV show. Make her the next like Golden Bachelorette or something.
Yes, please.
Yes,
make it happen.
Come
wow
on. Love her. Make her the Golden Bachelorette, please. That'd be so good. Yeah, icon. She deserves the world. And I'll also say the reunion. Like, the reunion was like pretty good this season. They showed a lot of like good nuggets. I like seeing Giannina and Blake there, like the random people, Micah and Izzy. Like, why? But you know, good to see them. Yeah. So those were all great. Yeah, I love the reunion.
I loved Vanessa and Nick's redemption this season when it came to the reunion. I think everyone was upset, and I'm not sure if it was the last reunion or the reunion before that, but there was just a lot of people were upset about the way that they hosted it, just because they felt like they didn't hold people accountable, or the right people. Like, they were like going in on like our fan favorites, and we're like, wait, why are you going in on him? Like, we love him. He did nothing wrong. Marshall, like, why are you questioning Marshall? It should be questioning Jackie. So I felt like we were all so confused about that reunion, and they have just come back and like did everything they needed to do as a couple, as host. And so I really loved them this season, and I think they will continue this work. It was just a faux pas.
Yes, they're back.
Hands down their best reunion performance so far. They did a great job this time.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, time for a game.
Game
Red flag, green flag.
time.
1, 2, 3. So here, Ashley, we're going to ask you some hot questions, and you just got to give us your honest answer on how you feel. Okay.
All right.
Is it a red flag to recite the same lines to different women on dates, like Matthew?
Very red. Very red. Code red.
Yes. Code red.
Okay. Our next question for you. Is it a green flag to be close friends with your ex? Like Kenneth and Brittany. Or even Jimmy and his friend.
No, it is not green. No, you can have other friends. There are a lot of people in this world. You do not need to be close friends with your ex.
Yes.
No.
I agree.
100%. Could not have said it better myself.
There's so many people.
They want it to seem like a green flag. Like, oh yeah, we still get along. There aren't any issues. But it is strange to me how you guys weren't able to make it work as a couple, but now talk every day. That's strange.
Talk every day on the phone? Like, that's so bizarre.
What is there to talk about?
They weren't talking in the Dominican Republic, but now you can talk on the phone every day?
They went from not talking on their honeymoon or on their trip to talking all the time.
Sitting on that boat in silence, and now you talk every day on the phone? What's going on? It's not
make sense.
Up. It's not.
Yeah, and they're fine. Like, I think they said it on the reunion, like they're really close, but they would reevaluate like their relationship or their friendship if they got into a serious relationship. So at least they have that respect, because that's like really where I'm coming from. But yeah, I don't know why they would. I don't understand. That's what I'll say.
Agreed. Okay, so Love is Blind season 6. Is this season a wait or a watch? How are we feeling?
It's a watch.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So entertaining.
Absolutely.
I will say I was concerned because season 5 with the whole Lydia and Milton and Uche, like it just wasn't as good. So I think Love is Blind is back. Season 6, You had a couple you could root for in Amy and Johnny. You had some drama. Not some drama. The season was probably like 90% drama.
Yeah. It was a lot of drama this season. But it was good because, like
Yes.
you said, season 5 also had a lot of drama, with the different dynamics. But I think just the way it all played out, and there's just like a lot of good, I know these are people, so I don't want to say a lot of good character development, but this is reality. But like a lot of good stories in there that I'm not sure we've gotten in other seasons. So kind of like, just it has like a good arc for all the different things you might want in a reality TV show.
Totally. You had heroes, you had villains, you had a couple who's just pure joy and happiness. I wish there were more couples to root for. I will say that like the best seasons are where, right, there's like 3 couples who get married, and those are great. But Amy and Johnny, I did enjoy this season. Okay.
Yes.
On to our what to watch segment.
Okay.
Yes. So, Shelby, what else about Love is Blind is coming out?
Well, exciting news. Love is Blind got renewed. There will be a season 7.
Yes.
Woo! Back for more. I will say there are rumors it's going to be filmed in Minneapolis.
I heard
Minnesota. But where do you guys wish they would film?
Maybe DC. A DC season would be great. A DMV. Let's go. I would love that. We need some like Northeast representation, right? As you know, Shelby and I were from New York, so I think doing a New York season would probably be too insane, because there's just so many people in New York. But maybe like DC, a Philadelphia season, or Boston. Like imagine a Boston season, all the accents, like that would just be so exciting. I would love that. Yeah, but that's what I'm kind of thinking. DC, Philly, or Boston. Those would be super fun.
Yeah, no, I love those picks. I definitely think like East Coast, South is going to be good. I don't think we want them coming to LA and people who want to be famous. Like we really want people who find love. And I'm from LA. I wanted to find love. I found love. So I don't know, but I think it would attract a certain crowd, like maybe New York and LA. But that's why I love that they actually did Charlotte, because you saw a different cultural dynamic. So that's why I think it's cool that they're doing it in the Midwest, because that's like a different cultural dynamic. And so you'll kind of see that come into play. Like there were a little bit more like traditional values that were displayed during this season that I don't think you necessarily see in other seasons. So it's kind of cool to see the different cultural context and like how dating happens in these different cities. So the cities you all mentioned, I think would be great.
Such a good point. I do like how depending where it's located, there's like a different cultural like framing for the show. Like I think about Seattle, like that was super different, right? You had a lot of people working in tech. Gave West Coast or Pacific Northwest energy. Whereas now in like Charlotte, it's so true. There were more like Christians. There were more faith conversations. And I do like how we've seen the differences across the US in the show.
Totally.
Yeah. See, it's educational, everyone. Love is Blind is educational as well.
We're learning.
We learn a lot from reality TV, everybody.
Totally.
And I think we also will want to keep tabs with any check-ins with the cast. Hopefully they do After the Altar. They didn't do that for season 5 yet. So I don't know what's going on with that. But hopefully season 6, they do an After the Altar. And they announced this on the reunion. Perfect Match season 2 is coming this summer. And Jess, Micah, and Izzy are part of the cast.
Whoa. Ashley, did you watch season 1 of Perfect Match?
You know what's so crazy? I had never heard of Perfect Match until the reunion. I was like, wow, they didn't do great marketing on this. Or maybe, I don't know, because I feel like I would know about it. I usually know about the love reality TV shows. I don't watch them all, but at least I've heard of it. So have you seen it? Do you recommend it? Should I add it to my list?
Right. So Shelby and I watched it together last summer.
We did.
It's a train wreck of a show. However,
okay, noted.
It is entertaining. So have you seen Bachelor in Paradise?
Yes.
Okay, so it's similar to that. They bring all the rejects from like the Netflix shows, basically, from all the Netflix universe reality shows, and they put them all
Oh.
in this house. I think they're in like Panama or something, and
Somewhere tropical.
it's very flawed. Like it's not clear what the premise is. They like bring new people in every week, and you have to like match with someone like Bachelor in Paradise, and if you're not matched, then you go home. The premise is just a little strange, so I think they need to flush it out for season 2.
Okay.
I like how it brings the people from the different Netflix reality universes.
Yeah.
I think that's smart. But to your
Yes.
point, Laura, it's the execution. Another thing I didn't love though is that you have to watch those Netflix shows. So if you're not watching like Too Hot to Handle or The Mole or
The Circle.
what was it? Like, yeah, The Circle, you're not going to recognize everyone. So I didn't know that many people on the cast. And another thing I didn't love, I felt like the Black women did not have a great experience on the show. So
Okay.
little hesitation for you, Ashley, to watch is that.
Yeah.
Not the best for the
Yeah.
Black women.
I don't know if I can recommend watching Perfect Match season 1.
Yeah.
But if you want the context, maybe. But it's very messy and entertaining.
It's entertaining, yeah.
Yeah.
Just not the most
Okay.
enjoyable watch.
Yes.
Okay. You know, you did a great job of making me realize I'm not missing that much.
No. No.
So I
Not
think
at
I
all.
might just stick to Love is Blind, but that is good. I'm glad that they're continuing their love journeys or at least building their brand and having new experiences. So there we
Yes.
go.
Well, Shelby and I will be watching season 2.
We will.
And I'll
So
listen to
we'll
your
see.
podcast episode. That's what I'll do. And I'll like be up on it. That'll be good.
There you go.
That's what I'll do.
Exactly. Now, Ashley, what are you currently watching? Like, what are things that you're enjoying these days on TV, movies, just in general?
Yeah, so I'm hopefully we'll be able to finish it tonight. I'm watching on Netflix One Day.
Ooh,
Um,
I watched
yeah,
that.
yeah. So it's a how would you characterize it? It's like a mini series. I'm not sure what
Limited series.
limited series. Thank you. That's what it's called. About two friends. There's clearly some underlying love tension there, and their relationship and friendship over the years. I'm not done with it, but I think it's really good. And then I do like Married at First Sight. Usually, it's like Love is Blind for me. Like I love both of those shows, but Married at First Sight this season has been challenging for me. I'm a loyal fan, so I continue to watch it, but it's not particularly interesting because like none of the couples make it, and like you really want people to be in love and happy.
Wow.
Those are my two things right now, as you
Okay.
can see, centered around love.
Love it.
Amazing.
Perfect to have you in the pod. We're very similar. I love a good romance show or film, as well as a romance reality TV show, scripted, unscripted. If it's about love, sign me up.
Yes.
I love that. That makes me feel good because you are the experts. This is like your actual arena and being in entertainment, which I love. So,
Yes.
Thank you.
And one more, I have to ask, what are some of your favorite reality TV shows like of all time? So you mentioned Love is Blind, you love, Married at First Sight. Are there any other ones that you really just love?
yeah, I used to love The Bachelor, but like I think we mentioned previously and The Bachelorette, like a lot of people aren't coming on for love anymore. And so it's lost that. It's like just about, being an influencer. And I love it, no shade to influencers, but like I want to see people really fall in love and have those stories where they're married and they have the babies and then you follow them later on. Like I just love that. But that was one of my favorites. And I like Real Housewives. As I've gotten older, I'm more like picky with the ones I watch and just I have limited time. And so, sometimes it can get to a point where they're just always fighting and that's not particularly fun. But I like the Real Housewives shows where they show personal story. Because I do kind of see my, self in some of these women who are, I like to dress really well and I am growing my family and, I have my own business. And so to see some of these women like that is inspiring. Andy Cohen, keep it coming. Keep bringing that personal story, please. Bring it back. Andy, if you're listening.
Yes.
Andy Cohen might listen to this one day. So please bring it back. Let's put it in the universe.
Yes.
And
Claim it.
the other one I love for reality TV is Married to Medicine.
Oh,
yes.
our mom
Yeah.
loves that.
Yes. Shout out to your mom. She's right to love it because you get to see Black female doctors and then you get to see them with their patients. You get to see like this kind of like, I feel like I learn, but then you have obviously there's a lot of drama there. But there is also longevity. And I think it's been on for 10 years. They just had the anniversary and they show the real couple dynamics. And like everybody's still married. There's only been one divorce and one marriage was even saved on the show. And so that's what I love about it too, especially if you're, someone who aspires to be married who's married. Like you can kind of see like them go through the real and go through things and they're actually open about it, but also overcome it. And you see like Black successful couples like doing it. Those are my faves of all time.
Love it.
Love it. That was a good pitch for Married to Medicine. I'm like,
I know. I'm like, maybe I should
add that to the
watch
list.
Your mom knows, okay?
She does.
She does. So thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on Sisters Who Watch. This has been amazing.
It's been so fun.
Thank you so much. And that's exactly how I feel. And so, yeah, I'm just super grateful. Thank you for having me on. I never get to really talk about reality TV in the podcast world because that's not what I usually do. So it was such a fun opportunity. It was maybe I need to start doing this, like add it entertainment or something. But yeah, thank you. You guys are great.
Oh, of course. Thank you. And before you go, remind people where they can find you and what your podcast is about.
Yeah. So I am the host and producer of No Straight Path, and it's a podcast in the HubSpot Podcast Network. So you can find it on the HubSpot Podcast Network, where we look at the human stories behind success. You can find us on Instagram, no_straight_path. You can find me on LinkedIn, Ashley Menzies Babatunde, and also on Instagram, ms_Menzies, MENZIES. And happy to connect. Thank you.
Amazing. Yay. Yes, go support No Straight Path, everybody. It's a great podcast, especially if you're looking for career advice or want to hear about people's journeys. Very inspirational.
Thank you, Shelby. Thank you, Laura.
Of course. So yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed Ashley, go support No Straight Path. Go check her out on social media and listen to the podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode of Sisters Who Watch, make sure you give us 5 stars on Apple, Spotify, wherever you stream podcasts, and subscribe to those pages so you get updates when we drop our new episodes. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, and follow us on all of our social media platforms at Sisters Who Watch: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're there, so go support us.
Yes, we appreciate all of you so much. We want to hear from you, so please DM us on social media. You can email us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. You can respond to our Q&As on Spotify, comment on our YouTube posts, whatever. We want to hear from you, and we're super grateful for the support. Thank you for watching and tuning in. Bye. Stay watching.